Welcome to our show, Sacred Tools for Divine Living with Vialet Rayne, where Vialet provides you with practical ways to bring in more joy and financial abundance into your life. Vialet creates a loving and sacred space where she shares simple ways for each of us to empower and enrich our lives. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet.
Thank you for joining me for Sacred Tools for Divine Living. In this episode, I would like to talk about making time for self-care. February is the month of love. We often think of Valentine's Day and how are we going to show love to others. But what about loving ourselves? What about taking care of ourselves? What about taking time to really care and love ourselves? So what does that look like for you? And how does that come across for you? How do you love and care for yourself? How do you do self-care? Is it a regular scheduled massage? Is it a pedicure? Is it a manicure? Is it play dates with friends? Is it going and sitting in the park? Is it a day of just watching movies that you love, or sleeping in late, or hanging out in your fuzzy pajamas, or taking a weekend drive or a weekend trip away? What is self-care, self-love for you? And what does that look like? I know with me and physically with me is I can tell when I'm reaching that point of hitting that wall of exhaustion, or I've pushed myself too far, or pushed myself where I don't need to be. I know what that feels like. Do you know what that feels like to you? Do you know what that looks like? Do you know what the hints are from spirit that, hey, it's time to slow down. It's time to take a day off. It's time to recoup your energy. It's time to recharge your energy. Do you know what that looks like? You know, one of the things I've learned in my lifetime is when I ignore those messages, when I ignore those hints, spirit has a crazy way of going, okay, if you won't listen to us, we're going to make you really, really sick. So then you're stuck in bed for 3 days. And I don't know about you, but I don't like being in bed for 3 days. I don't like losing 3 days of my life being sick and miserable and trying to figure out how to get better. And so, you know, the funny thing in the last several years is I've learned to negotiate with spirit. Have you ever negotiated with spirit? I love negotiating. But when I negotiate, I have to keep my word. So when I say, okay, I know I'm exhausted, I know I'm tired, I know my energy tanks are really low, just give me 3 more days and I promise I will take a down day. I will take 2 down days. I will spend time recharging. But the critical key to that is I have to honor what I've said. I have to take those days. I have to rest. And when I've done that in the last few years, I've been lucky enough, knock on wood, or intentionally, I haven't gotten really sick. I haven't ended up in bed for 3 days or 5 days or sick for a week. I have been able, because I know, because believe it or not, when we're stressed, when we're depressed, when we have anxiety, when we're worried about stuff, when we're exhausted, when we're pushing ourselves too hard, that's when we get sick. That's when our body reacts in a physical way to say, hey, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking time for yourself. So in order to recharge, we're going to make you sick. And it takes your breath away. It takes your energy levels even lower. But then you have to recoup. You have to slow down. You're not able to push as hard as you've been pushing. So again, how do you do self-care? How do you love yourself? How do you pay attention to those signs and signals? How do you pause throughout the day to enjoy the sunset or the sunrise? How do you take time to enjoy your coffee or tea instead of running out the door with it? What is self-care, self-love to you? I hope you figure this out, and I hope you commit to having more self-care, more self-love in your life every day.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet and how she can help you discover your spiritual gifts, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. Check out Violet's services and classes. You can also send a personal message to Violet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you really soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.
Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Come experience a difference at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.